I've lost over 100 pounds and this is how I make chicken chow mein. So first things first, I'm gonna cook my chicken in my new ceramic clad frying pans from Maiden. I actually love these because they're completely non-toxic and non-stick. You can use these with gas, electric, or induction cooktops. If you wanna check out their new ceramic clad collection or any of their other cookware sets, don't worry, I'll leave them linked for you in my bio. So after I seasoned my chicken, I added some toasted garlic for extra flavor, threw in my veggies, and then of course all my sauces. I added tamari to keep it gluten-free, some sesame oil, a tiny bit of fish sauce, some honey to balance it out, and some crunchy oil just for a little spice. Now I couldn't forget my noodles, so I'm using egg white noodles just to keep it low carb. I finished it off with some green onions, sesame seeds. Guys, I swear you could not tell this was low carb. I've lost over 100 pounds by making desserts like this, and this is a 90-second cinnamon roll. Okay, first thing I'm using is some melted butter, a little egg. I like adding all my wet ingredients first, and vanilla. Give your wet ingredients a little mix. Now some almond flour, and this is gonna keep it low carb and gluten free. A little baking powder so we have that rise. Some cinnamon, because duh, it's a cinnamon roll. You can use your sweetener of choice. I'm just using a little stevia packet. Now I'm just gonna give this a nice little mix. And this is just a little mixture that I made. It's a little brown sugar sweetener and cinnamon, and I'm gonna try to form like a little swirl. Now this is not going into the oven, it's going into the microwave for 90 seconds. And now while our cinnamon roll is cooking, I'm making a super quick little cream cheese frosting. This just has a little splash of almond milk and a little sweetener. Looks so good. Little snip, and now we frost. I've lost 25 pounds in the last 6 months, and this is my baked Boursin pasta. So the first thing we're doing is adding in the cheese. This is actually called a gourmet cheese. So for those of you that don't really like feta pasta, this is the one you can use. Typically this dish isn't made with protein, but I want it to be like a full meal. So I'm gonna go ahead and add protein to it. And I'm just gonna season it with a little bit of salt and pepper. I'm even gonna do a little onion powder. You can do grape tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, literally whatever you find is gonna work. And then we have fresh garlic cloves. So just kind of put them in wherever. And now I'm just gonna do a light drizzle of olive oil, tiny bit of chili flakes just to give it a little spice. Okay, so now I'm gonna bake this at 400 degrees for about 40 minutes. Ooh, okay, so this got nice and thick. Now's the time to add your pasta. Now I'm doing roasted cauliflower just to keep it low carb. And now for garnish, I'm just gonna add in some fresh basil, a little bit more tomatoes. Cheers. Trust me, you won't miss the pasta. I've lost over 100 pounds eating low carb, so I had to try the viral onion boil. I started off by cutting the ends of my onion, coring the center. I seasoned it with paprika, Cajun, chili powder, garlic powder, onion powder. Then I wrapped it and baked it at 350 for 1 hour. Now, while that's baking, I'm gonna make my sauce. I add the same seasonings, a lot of butter, some chicken sausage, and then I cooked it until it was nice and bubbly. Now for extra protein, I'm adding my kettle and fire chicken bone broth. I love it because it adds collagen and nutrients and so much protein to my dish. The final step was squeezing a little fresh lemon juice. I added my juicy onion, some soft boiled eggs, topped it with a delicious Cajun sauce. Woo! Guys, Nati and I are obsessed. I've lost over 100 pounds eating low carb, and this is my broccoli beef one-pan meal. Now for my beef, I bought the one that says beef for stir fry. It's already chopped. It's just gonna make your life so much easier. I'm adding in a bag of broccoli. Now instead of soy sauce, I'm using tamari just to keep this gluten-free. A little sesame oil, some toasted garlic, powdered ginger, some crushed chili peppers, and a touch of honey to balance it all out. Guys, I totally forgot to add onion, and I am an onion girl, so we're still gonna add it. Okay, now I'm just gonna cover it up until my broccoli gets nice and tender. Ooh, wee! Look at that. Cheers. I've lost over 100 pounds eating low carb, and today we're making the viral chicken Caesar pizza. First thing I'm starting off with is some ground chicken. We're gonna add in our eggs and some Parmesan cheese. You'll need about a cup of this. For our seasonings, I'm using a little salt and pepper, onion and garlic powder, and some Italian seasoning. And this is gonna turn into our pizza crust and spread it out. If you want your pizza crust to be nice and crispy, just make sure this is spread out nice and thin. Oven is preheated to 450 degrees, and this is going in for 10 minutes. For my pizza sauce, I'm using my homemade Caesar dressing. You'd never know it's a lighter version. Extra parm on top, adding pepperoncinis and a little bit of buffalo sauce literally takes it to the moon. Cheers. This is probably my favorite pizza. I've lost over 100 pounds by eating meals like this, and this is my homemade salmon poke bowl. First things first, we're gonna go ahead and season our salmon. Onion powder, garlic powder, some tamari instead of soy sauce, toasted sesame oil, some rice vinegar, and some raw honey. Now we're gonna give this a good mix. Now I'm gonna go ahead and air fry this at 400 degrees for about 5 to 7 minutes. For the rice, I'm using cauli rice just to keep it low carb. I'm doing some broccoli, red bell pepper, edamame, diced carrots, sliced cucumber, pickled ginger, and the star of the show, our poke salmon. I finish it off with some spicy mayo. We have our furikake. Cheers. You can only get this type of flavor at home. I've lost over 100 pounds eating low carb, and this is how I make my 5-minute Mexican shakshuka. So first I'm gonna make my sauce in my new ceramic clad frying pans from Maiden. I love these because they're non-toxic and non-stick. You can even use them on gas, electric, and induction cooktops. So if you wanna check out their new ceramic clad collection or any of their other cookware sets, I'll go ahead and leave them linked in my bio for you. Okay, and once I seasoned my sauce, I cracked my eggs, added jalapenos, because you know I'm about that spicy life. And I just leave them covered for about 2 minutes. Then I top them with some cheese, onion, cilantro, and then top it off with that fresh avocado for extra healthy fats. Guys, these were so good. This is the perfect breakfast when you're in a rush. Today I'm making my mom's Mexican caldo de papa, but we're making it low carb. The first thing I'm starting with is sauteing my onion, our chiles güeritos, some diced tomatoes, and some minced garlic. Give it all a good mix. For seasonings, I'm doing a little garlic powder, a little onion powder, and a little pepper. Now, instead of water, I'm adding in my Kettle and Fire bone broth. I love it because it's so nutritious, it's full of collagen, and it adds over 20 grams of protein to my soup. Now, this is completely optional, but chicken bouillon goes in a lot of Mexican dishes. Now we're gonna add in our oregano. Typically you use potatoes for this dish, but I'm using chayote just to keep it low carb. Now the cheese that's used for this soup is queso fresco. So I'm gonna go ahead and dice it. Now we turn off the heat and add in the cheese. I always make sure to get a good amount of cheese. Look at that. Cheers. Oh my gosh, this reminds me of my childhood. I've lost over 100 pounds eating low carb, and this is how I make loaded nachos. So instead of chips, I'm using raw broccoli. And now I'm gonna spray with a little avocado oil. This is the one from Chosen Foods. A little salt and pepper. So I'm just gonna give this a nice little toss, and now I'm gonna air fry for 10 minutes at 400 degrees. So our broccoli is nice and roasted. This is what you're looking for. And now to make this a full meal, I'm adding some shredded rotisserie chicken, but you can use your protein of choice. And now some Mexican blend cheese. And now back in the air fryer to get nice and melty. For my toppings, I have some tomatoes, so just some diced tomatoes, a few olives, some jalapenos for spice, and a little guac right in the middle. Now for my creamy component, I'm using the chicken sauce from Chosen Foods. I actually picked this one up at Walmart. I love it because it has simple ingredients and no seed oils. So flavorful, you don't even miss the chips. I've lost over 100 pounds eating low carb, so I had to try the viral cucumber salad. So first I sliced an entire cucumber, then I added my smoked salmon, I chopped up a little purple onion, then I added some capers, whipped cream cheese, and my crunchy chili oil powder. I gave it a good shake, and guys, now I can see what the hype is all about. This tastes like a deconstructed Philadelphia sushi roll. I've lost over 100 pounds eating low carb, so I had to try the viral baked feta eggs. So the first thing you're gonna need is an entire block of feta cheese. Now I'm gonna spray with a little avocado oil. I'm gonna crack about 10 eggs, but if you have a bigger block of feta, use more eggs. I'm seasoning with a little salt and pepper and some oregano. Now this is going into the oven at 400 degrees for about 15 to 20 minutes. Now I'm just topping it with some chives. Cheers. Okay, now I can see what the hype is all about. All right guys, I've lost over 100 pounds eating low carb, and these are my Mexican fish tacos. For our fish, I'm using cod, but you can use tilapia or your fish of choice. I'm seasoning the fish with a little salt and pepper, and now I'm just cutting my fish. And for my wet batter, I have tapioca flour, a little paprika, some garlic powder, onion powder, salt and pepper, 1 egg, and instead of beer, I'm using sparkling water. And I'm gonna mix this all together. So now I'm gonna take my fish and dust it in the flour, dip it into my batter, and right into my oil. Perfect golden brown color. I'm doing my crispy fish, my Mexican coleslaw, and my jalapeno crema. Cheers. Guys, crispy, crunchy, and still low carb. I've lost over 100 pounds eating low carb, so I had to try making the Tai Fung cucumber salad. I started off by slicing an entire cucumber, added my shaved red onion. Now to make this a full meal, I'm adding grilled chicken, some green onion, crunchy peanuts, toasted garlic, a little sesame oil, rice vinegar, tamari instead of soy sauce, a little touch of honey, crunchy chili oil, and finish it off with sesame seeds. Now cover and give it a good shake. And guys, look at this. I already love the cucumber salad, but making it a full meal just takes it over the top. I've lost over 100 pounds, and this is my jalapeno popper chicken bake. So the first thing I'm starting off with is my broccoli, adding some shredded chicken breast, but you can literally use your protein of choice. So now I'm gonna mix some sharp cheddar cheese and some room temperature cream cheese. Pouring my cheese right on top, and we spread. Diced jalapenos going right on top. Finish it off with crispy bacon. And I'm just gonna top it with a tiny bit of cheese on top, just so it gets that nice crisp. Now, this is going in at 375 for about 15 minutes. Cheers. I've lost over 100 pounds eating low carb, and this is how I make my chicken ranch bake. So I'm gonna spray this with a little avocado oil, add in my broccoli, season this with a little onion powder and garlic powder. I'm using some rotisserie chicken, but you can totally use grilled chicken as well. And for my sauce, I'm using my homemade ranch dressing. This one's really creamy and high in protein. Little parm and mozzarella. Finish this off with a little crispy bacon. And now this is going into the oven at 375 for 20 minutes. Topping it with a little bit of chili flakes. Cheers. This is a perfect dinner in less than 30 minutes. Guys, can you believe I just finished making these low-carb pumpkin pie cinnamon rolls in the air fryer? So the first thing we're starting off with is our low-carb tortillas, some cream cheese, and you wanna make sure you cover your whole tortilla. I'm gonna add in a little pumpkin puree. Just make sure it's not the pumpkin pie filling, because that has a ton of sugar. Topping it with my brown sugar stevia, a little cinnamon, pumpkin pie spice, and now placing my tortilla right on top. Roll into a burrito, and we slice. And now I'm just gonna air fry these at 400 degrees for about 6 to 8 minutes. Ooh, the sizzle. And while they were baking, I just whipped up a quick cream cheese glaze. All right guys, we're going in for the biggest one. Nice and juicy, full of glaze. Cheers. Oh, go hot. OMG. How does this taste like an actual cinnamon roll? I've lost over 100 pounds, and this is my favorite way to make a high protein Snickers salad. I start off by slicing my green apple. I added my high protein yogurt, creamy peanut butter, my favorite mini chocolate chips, roasted peanuts, and then I topped it with my homemade low carb caramel sauce. Gave it a good shake, and guys, look at this. I swear I'm enjoying this more than an actual Snickers bar. I've lost over 100 pounds, and I just finished making low carb ramen. The first thing I'm starting off with is my broth. I'm sauteing a little bit of onion and garlic. Now, instead of using water, I'm gonna use some bone broth. I'm using the one from Kettle and Fire. This adds so much collagen and nutrients. It's actually going to add 80 grams of protein to my ramen. I'm adding some garlic powder, a little onion powder, salt and pepper. Now this is completely optional, but you can also add a little chicken bouillon. I'm doing some mushrooms and some bok choy. I'm adding in my low carb noodles. Now to make it creamy, I'm adding 1 egg, mayo, chili oil, and whisk. Look at how creamy this turns out. Starting off with my noodles, my tonkatsu broth, medium boiled egg, pork belly, green onion, and finish off with chili oil. This looks better than anything I've ever seen at a ramen spot. Oh my God. I've lost over 100 pounds, and this is my barbecue chicken pizza bake. For my crust, I'm using roasted cauliflower. For my sauce, I'm using a sugar-free barbecue. For my sauce, I'm using a sugar-free barbecue. For my toppings, I'm doing shredded chicken, red onion, and for my cheese, I'm using mozzarella and a little Mexican blend. This is going into the oven at 375 for 15 to 20 minutes. Cheers. I've lost over 100 pounds, and this is how I make my $1 million chicken bake. The first thing I'm adding in is my raw broccoli, And now I'm gonna add in a little avocado oil. This is the new one from Chosen Foods. I love it because it's so convenient. It has a neutral taste and a smoking point up to 500 degrees. Next, I'm adding in my rotisserie chicken, softened cream cheese, light sour cream. And for my mayo, I'm using the one from Chosen Foods because this one is made with 100% avocado oil and it has super clean ingredients, which I love. Now I'm using a little garlic powder, onion powder, and salt and pepper. Now to keep it nice and juicy, I'm gonna add in some bone broth. And now we mix. Top it with crispy bacon and my Mexican blend cheese. And now this is going into the oven at 350 degrees. Ooh-wee. Look at how creamy this looks. And now I'm just gonna top it off with some chili flakes. Cheers. I've lost over 100 pounds eating low carb, and this is how I make my homemade chili. The first thing we're starting off with is cooking my ground beef. Add in my onion, red bell pepper, our green bell pepper. And for my chili seasoning, I have my own blend, giving it a good mix. Now I'm gonna go in with some crushed tomatoes, tomato sauce. And instead of adding water, I'm gonna use some Kettle and Fire bone broth. This is full of collagen and protein, and this actually adds 40 grams of protein to my chili. Toss in my black soybeans just to keep it low carb. I'm gonna go ahead and let this simmer for about 10 minutes. Ooh, yes. A little sharp cheddar cheese, cilantro, sour cream, avocado, my crunchy low carb chips, and jalapeno for a little spice. Cheers. I've lost over 100 pounds eating low carb, and this is how I make my lasagna soup. So the first thing I'm starting off with is some ground beef. You can even use Italian sausage. A little salt and pepper, celery and onion. For my seasonings, I'm using a little garlic powder, some onion powder, Italian seasoning, and chili flakes for a little spice. I'm doing a little minced garlic, and we're going in with the tomato paste to make sure all those flavors combine. I'm adding in my low sugar marinara. I'm just gonna go ahead and add in my Kettle and Fire bone broth. This is full of collagen and protein, and this adds 40 extra grams of protein to my soup. So now to make it nice and creamy, I'm gonna add in some ricotta. This is just gonna make it a little thicker and just give it that creaminess that you're looking for. Now, instead of pasta, I'm using zucchini, and this is just to keep it low carb. And we definitely can't forget some fresh Parmesan cheese. OMG, I wish you could taste this. Okay, this is so bomb. I've lost over 100 pounds while eating low carb, and this is my favorite way to make dumplings. The first thing we're starting off with is our filling. I'm using some ground turkey just to keep it a little lighter. We have some carrots, a little mushroom, and some green onion. And for seasonings, we're doing garlic powder, a little onion powder, some ginger powder, salt and pepper. And I'm using tamari to keep it gluten-free, but you can also use regular soy sauce, sriracha to give it that kick, and a touch of honey, and this is just gonna balance everything out. I'm gonna add a little bit of cabbage, and this is just gonna give it more bulk. And now to hold our dumpling filling together, I'm adding 1 egg. And for my dumpling wrapper, I'm using this Napa cabbage. I actually just quickly blanched these so they're ready to go. I'm gonna add a heaping spoon of our dumpling filling. Start from the back, fold it in, tuck in the edges, and then just keep rolling. We have our dumplings, and now I'm gonna go ahead and fry them. You cannot tell me that these don't look like dumplings. Now I'm just gonna top it with some tamari, some sesame seeds, and finish it off with that green onion. Cheers. You never know these are low carb.